domain of space is home to many terrifying creatures. While most of these beings are generally highly aggressive, their purpose, to an extent, remains the same: survival. Now, what we are dealing with in today's video are two exceedingly hostile extraterrestrial organisms here. The Thing happens to be the shape-shifting extraterrestrial being in John W. Campbell's sci-fi horror novella, Who Goes There?, as well as the titular antagonist of John Carpenter's 1982 sci-fi horror, The Thing, and Matthijs van Huygens Jr.'s 2011 sci-fi horror film, also titled The Thing. As for the Xenomorph, it is the resilient predatory antagonist with a multi-stage life cycle, as seen in the Alien film series. If you ask us, both are deadly opponents. But the question that remains is, if pitched against in a battle, who amongst the poster boys for Aliens will emerge victorious? Well, without further ado, let's get straight into the video then. But before we get into our explanation, we do have one very small request. If you enjoy our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Now, let's begin. What is the Thing? For a proper understanding of the creature, there is no better way than diving straight into the storyline of Who Goes There? The novella has the Thing being discovered by a group of researchers isolated in their remote scientific base in Antarctica. The team had found the Thing in its frozen state inside its spaceship that had crashed there approximately 20 million years ago. The process of thawing somehow revives the alien, and it immediately kills and assumes the appearance, memories, and personality of the crew's physicist and cosmic ray specialist, Conan. Also, the Thing uses its remaining body mass to transform into a sled dog. However, the research group comes across the dog Thing while it is altering, and they end up killing it. Blair, who happens to be the pathologist of the team, goes batshit crazy with paranoia and guilt, as he was the one to have pressed the others into thawing the Thing. Blair swears to kill everyone at the base, hoping to retain humankind from the Thing. Naturally, he is isolated by the rest of the crew members inside a locked cabin. As for the remaining members of the group, they end up disabling their vehicles to have their base isolated and act absolutely normal during their radio transmissions to avert rescue attempts of any kind. In the meantime, the researchers also try to get to the bottom of the whole matter by figuring out who amongst them has been assimilated and replicated by the Thing. The crew makes up their mind to conduct a blood test so as to annihilate the replicants before they can escape and take over the world. The blood test points one in the direction that either the physician Dr. Cooper or Expedition Commander Gary is an alien imposter. However, the initial result remains inconclusive. It is then that Expedition's second-in-command and meteorologist, McReady, takes over the crew and concludes that all the animals at the outpost, except for the dog used for the blood test, have become infected, or in other words, imitation. This has the group butchering all the animals and burning their cadavers later on. By now, the whole team has already started doubting one another, and further tension begins to mount after the cook is murdered and disclosed as the Thing. The cook's death has McReady realizing that even the tiniest part of the Thing will operate as an independent organism. Struck with an idea, McReady takes blood samples from every member and has a hot wire dipped into it. The solution is relatively simple. If the sample blood recoils from the hot wire, the donor is instantly killed. A total of 14 members are disclosed to be the Thing and executed. The surviving members then decide to test Blair, who is still isolated and locked inside a cabin. Their horror that Blair is already transformed into the Thing. While McReady is able to kill the Blair Thing with a blowtorch, he realizes that the Thing, as Blair, had nearly finished building a nuclear-powered anti-gravity device that would have let it flee from there to the outside world. What is Xenomorph? The Xenomorph, more commonly known as the Alien, is an extraterrestrial race of endoparasitoid being that is the titular antagonist of the Alien film series. Originating from the elusive alien homeworld, Xenomorph Prime, these predatory creatures are known to be exceedingly hostile and deadly, and usually require a host in order to reproduce, very similar to wasps or termites. The Xenomorph is eusocial, having a solitary fertile queen capable of breeding an uncountable lot. Mind you, the Xenomorph doesn't have a backstory like the Thing, so we will head directly to its concept and creation for a better understanding. Now, if we look at the script of Sir Ridley Scott's 1979 sci-fi horror movie, Alien, it was initially drafted by Ronald Shusett and the late Dan O'Bannon. In fact, Bannon had written an opening that had the crew of a mining ship sent to probe a mysterious message on an alien planet, while Bannon, in due course, was okay with the threat being an extraterrestrial creature. What he could not come up with was an intriguing way for it to get on the ship. This brings us to Shusett, who, after having woken up from a dream, got inspired to the extent that the core idea of the alien planting its seed inside the body of its host fell into place, with Shusett and Bannon both realizing that nothing of that sort had been done before. The duo went ahead with the idea, and it is safe to say that it soon became the central part of the flick. Also, you will actually be surprised to learn that the title of the film was decided way later, and before the movie was renamed Alien. The original title was actually Star Beast. Alien not only became the movie's final title, the word also became the name of the creature in it. Biology of both creatures, the Thing. For this part, we are primarily going to focus on the Thing that appeared in the movies because, let's be honest here, the Thing's horrific transformations on display, particularly when exposed or assimilating, are capable of scaring the living daylights out of one. Contrasting most beings, the Thing does not have an inherent standard anatomy. That being said, there is a high probability that it is a colonial creature whose process of assimilation is carried on the genetic level. Now, the Thing's shape-shifting personality indicates that its biology is the same as the living being it has cloned, or is in the process of cloning. It has the power to reconstruct itself, even after having undergone severe levels of damage. And truth be told, the Thing is pretty much indestructible when it comes to conventional attacks. Also, if we may add here, while the Thing is exceedingly tolerant of cold and can literally place itself in cryogenic stasis till it is discovered by unsuspecting prey, it is susceptible to fire, and in all likelihood, molecular acid, because both of these tend to destroy the Thing at a cellular level. Now, the molecular acid, in particular, gives the Xenomorph an edge over the Thing, but we will be explicitly discussing this a little later in the video. Anyway, coming back to the Thing. While it undergoes metamorphosis, the Thing usually tends to burst open, and one can see nauseatingly horrifying forms of previously assimilated anatomy taking formation, such as slimy tentacles, fanged maw, masses of flesh, and insect-like limbs amongst others. This assimilated anatomy reconstitutes its cellular structure and eventually replicates its desired prey. If you can recall the 2011 prequel movie, you will remember paleontologist Kate Lloyd making a discovery that the Thing is unable to imitate inorganic material, like metal, when she chances upon some bloody, discarded dental fillings in the shower room, thereby deducing that it spat out the metal tooth fillings while assimilating its victim. It is also mandatory on the part of this shape-shifting being here to first come in contact with its host in order to imitate the analyzing process and then start copying the cellular structure. Both Carpenter's and Hagen Engine Jr.'s movies demonstrated how the cells start digesting and then replicate the host, eventually taking over the whole body. The Thing is also quite particular about assimilating only live prey or a freshly killed one. Mind you, any living being that has been dead for a prolonged period of time will be disregarded by it. Anyway, after the Thing has replicated a living being, say a human or a dog for that matter, it will imitate them precisely down to their characteristics, behavior, memory, and every other trait for that matter. This also includes health flaws. Take the 1982 film, for example. Fans of the movie are bound to remember the character of Norris. Now try to think of the scene where Norris appears to suffer a heart attack. This obviously means that the Thing had also replicated the weak heart of the character while assimilating him. Moving on, let's focus on the sequence in the movie that has McReady theorizing that every part of the alien is an individual creature that has its own survival instinct. No wonder, despite Norris getting his head detached from the body after the Thing replicates him, he has his severed head sprouting legs and attempting to escape. The imitation process also depends on several things. If the attacking Thing is hurt or happens to be smaller than its prey, it will simply add the biomass to itself to augment its size and strength. However, if the Thing attacks its prey in a location it deems safe, it will only feed on the prey, then replicate and revert to its disguise so that it can look for another prey to assimilate.
I got you, you son of a bitch!
The Xenomorph. Given a Xenomorph's multi-stage life cycle and add to this its caste, age, and dare we disregard its host, there is no denying that its physical appearance tends to vary. However, it is a Xenomorph's capability to absorb the genetic material from its host. In addition to the very existence of copious levels of mutations and variations that have developed naturally or, say, artificially, that makes it a highly phenotypically varied organism in outer space. So, a regular Xenomorph begins its life cycle as an ellipsoidal leathery object with a four-lobed opening at the top, or in simpler words, an egg, to be more precise. Upon perceiving the presence of a potential host, the egg unfolds and it has a parasitic facehugger erupting from it and attaching itself to the face of the host. Now, a facehugger happens to be the second stage in the xenomorph's life cycle, and it usually looks like it has these finger-like legs and an exceptionally long tail. The facehugger, after having its legs wrapped around its host's head and tail around the neck, impregnates the host with an endoparasitoid larva inside. While the parasitic facehugger usually dies post-implantation, the embryo begins to consume parts of the host from within. However, the host shows no adverse symptoms upon waking up except for nausea, sore throat, and increased congestion. Eventually, the embryo develops into a horrid worm-like creature, otherwise known as a chestburster, the third stage in the xenomorph's life cycle. Staying true to its name, the chestburster violently bursts out from the chest cavity of the host, instantly killing the latter. The chestburster is usually seen scampering away after this, so as to find a secure spot where it will undergo its dramatic metamorphosis into an adult xenomorph in a matter of just a few hours. Now, when it comes to an adult xenomorph, it is what our nightmares are truly made of. The adult xenomorph possesses an invertebrate-like body with a rather protective dark exoskeleton, an elongated domed head, a toothed mouth, concealing a secondary expandable proboscis-like inner maw, and a segmented blade-tipped tail. Not much is known about their biology, but what is for sure is that when a xenomorph eats, it does so using its inner or secondary mouth, which is pretty similar to that of a moray eel's pharyngeal jaw, for that matter. Adult xenomorphs also tend to bleed an exceedingly potent acid-like fluid, which is pale yellowish-green in color, and this highly corrosive fluid, when spurted out, gives it quite an edge against its opponents, as well as praise. The solitary fact that the xenomorph not only feeds on human, but also develops inside them vehemently, implies that its biology is carbon-based. Inheriting traits from its hosts suggests that it incorporates genetic material from them, further inferring that the xenomorph, in all probability, either has DNA or is able to interpret and alter DNA into any means it uses to store genetic information. Which one has better intelligence factor? Let's begin by talking about the Thing first. Please know that we will be taking a couple of movie references for a proper explanation. The Thing's level of intelligence is directly proportional to its size. For instance, the smaller the thing, the less intelligent it will be, and vice versa. In Carpenter's movie, MacReady's blood test proved that a smaller thing, such as a petri dish of blood, defended itself violently when jabbed with a hot wire. But when it came down to a larger thing, or in other words, a human imitation, it was smart enough to keep itself hidden. Also, if you remember the infamous Norris Thing's spider head scene, you will recall that it hurriedly attempted to escape. Well, this is primarily because its body mass was not adequately big enough to form an intelligent brain center, and therefore, it did not know that trying to flee from there with people still around would blow its cover at the end of the day. Also, know that a full-size thing is exceptionally sharp, and it is often speculated that a full-size thing has the collective intelligence of all the organisms it has imitated. We know you would want facts, so here's one for you. Remember the Blair thing? Well, it was either a product of the Lars Alaskan Malamute, or it was born out of characters Norris or Palmer, for that matter. While who it was born out of isn't the point here. What it was capable of doing is what we should be focusing on. The Blair thing had nearly completed building a small spacecraft out of vehicle parts, and this solitarily means that the Blair thing had absorbed the very intelligence of all its previous imitations, and it was smart enough to know what it should be doing in order to survive. We want to put further emphasis on a few more examples. The Juliet thing from the 2011 flick did show intelligence, to quite a degree, when it not only connivingly turned suspicion towards a different crew member, but also tactically lured Kate into a secluded room with the sole purpose of assimilating. Remember the Sander thing? While it hasn't been directly featured in the movie, it was the Sander thing that was able to restart the spaceship towards the end of the film. Last but not least, one also cannot deny that the split-face thing could easily track Sam Carter by resorting to its rudimentary levels of intelligence, like following the scent. But having said all of these, once the thing's identity gets revealed, it appears to behave a lot more like mindless animals, who end up attacking its prey right after. Now, as far as a xenomorph is concerned, it is more like this living weapon, particularly known for its ferocious, deadly nature. Once a xenomorph attains adulthood, it becomes very powerful and agile. It is well within their ability to grasp things pretty quickly and make a rather profitable use of its surroundings. It is true that a xenomorph doesn't precisely show human and predator-level intelligence, but when it comes down to the queen, the latter surely is in possession of significant levels of sharpness. It is also hinted that xenomorph nests function under some kind of a hive mind, or let's say, a collective consciousness, one that the queen directs. Now, the queen can communicate with her breed telepathically and by shrieking. There have also been cases where the queen has been shown to telepathically communicate with potential hosts, inducing them with horrifying dreams. And add to this, religious visions too. The xenomorphs also excel at what is fitting to call observational learning, and this has been on display, especially with a xenomorph strategically escaping its cell. When a xenomorph finds itself under attack, it has shown phenomenal amounts of ingenuity and intelligence. Xenomorphs are masters of stealth. To think that a xenomorph is highly capable of moving both speedily and silently in ventilation systems, in spite of its size, and repeatedly making use of such passageways mainly for attacking, escaping, or simply traveling from one area to another is rather commendable. Also, their most preferred method of getting the better of their prey is by waiting in a dormant state till their victim approaches them. This will have them discreetly appearing behind them and at times even have their spiky tail do the job for them. Next, there's their acidic blood, which they often use to their very advantage. They have used it to escape from their cells and even as a weapon. Of course, darkness happens to be their friend, and it goes without saying they don't really fancy lights as such. Also, with adult xenomorphs known to inherit the physical traits from their hosts, it is probable that the intelligence level of the creature is highly influenced by its host to quite an extent. What are their weaknesses? Well, both tend to have similar weaknesses. Their vulnerability to heat. The element of fire is something that effectively drives away both species. In fact, in addition to fire or flamethrower, to be more precise, the thing is also weak when it comes to electricity. To those of you wondering how electricity plays a role here, well, electricity is actually capable of damaging the thing on a cellular level. Honestly speaking, who does not remember how the Norse thing reacted when Dr. Cooper tried to revive him with a defibrillator? With that being said, the thing also does not possess the power to imitate inorganic materials, and if it comes in contact with things like metal, it will spit them out. Also, when the thing's mass becomes smaller, it loses its intelligence and operates on a level that does not allow it to think things through. As for the xenomorph, fire usually slows it down, often acting like an obstacle in its way. Next, Molotov cocktails along with flamethrowers have been seen to drive them away too. Also, high-caliber weapons are capable of causing a xenomorph to detonate, especially when shot with explosive rounds of an M41A pulse rifle. A xenomorph has also been shown to communicate pain through shrieks when attacked. Who will win, the thing or the xenomorph? Given the admirable survival instincts of both these space monsters, both are deadly threats. But before we get to the point where we disclose who amongst these creatures will win in a battle, let's try analyzing each of their threats first. So, addressing everyone who has seen the Thing movie, try to imagine a whole planet that is filled with these beings. Mind you, we aren't talking about just any species. Our focus is on a being that is intelligent enough to imitate any living being. For that matter, every part of the Thing is an independent life form with its own survival instinct. The only thing it needs to assimilate into another being is the latter's DNA. No wonder, the Thing is highly capable of spreading paranoia and fear, similar to a deadly virus, and thereby has its victims driven completely mad. Now, let's take the example of a xenomorph, which exists for the sole purpose of surviving. This particular species does not possess advanced technology. It is more like a primal, predatory creature that believes in self-preservation. So, there's the implantation process, the bursting through the chest stage, and the adult version possessing incredible amounts of strength, agility, and dare we disregard its molecular acid blood. Now, pitting these two against each other in a battle will ultimately lead the replicator to be unable to turn into a xenomorph, chiefly because of its corrosive blood. Also, because the Thing operates on a molecular level, the acid blood can destroy the Thing at a cellular level, and this pretty much makes the xenomorph the winner. But hey, we are going to put these creatures in a few more instances and see who gains an advantage over the other before making the final decision. For this, let's consider a few alien films. In the movie, the xenomorphs mostly tend to get overpowered by the humans, right? Now, the Thing's level of intelligence is regarded to be way higher than that of the humans. So if the humans can survive a xenomorph, a creature as clever as the Thing can undoubtedly do so too. You see, when it comes to a xenomorph, it pretty much has a one-track mind. It is a hunter at the end of the day. The Thing, on the other hand, has the mind to think things creatively. As mentioned before, a full-size Thing has the combined intelligence of all the organisms that it has replicated, so using its wit, the Thing is very likely to have an edge over the xenomorph. Even if a facehugger ends up doing its job, the Thing would simply separate itself from its torso. Therefore, in a direct confrontation between the duo, the xenomorph's physical abilities and lethal attacks would certainly pose a major threat to the Thing. But then again, the Thing's ability to replicate will, in all probability, let it counter the xenomorph's strengths and find a way to ultimately defeat it. Also, as an overall threat to the society, the Thing is certainly the worst. It is a race that can simulate a human in terms of its appearance, behavior, memories, and every other characteristic, so it certainly should not be treated lightly. As for the Xenomorphs, no wonder they are deadly. But the thing with the thing is that not only does it have the power to create confusion and chaos, but it can also look like anyone and fool the other being into believing it, like it or not. But this categorically makes the thing the very winner hand, or should we say tentacles down. Marvelous verdict. Well, that's all for today. And with this, we finally come to the end of our video here. So what are your thoughts about these two epic genre-defining horror monsters? Who do you think will win if pitted in a battle? We would love to know your opinions in the comments section down below. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Please do leave a thumbs up and stay tuned with us, as we promise to come back with more exciting content. Till then, goodbye and thanks for watching. Have a nice one. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.